Fortuna's a southpaw, but they're kind of same height, kind of same age. Garcia's big.
I think Fortuna has had some more success at a higher level. You know, Tago came in with a good reputation out of Africa. I heard good things about him, but he kind of been unproven, and he showed nothing in the Garcia fight except just wanting to go the distance. Never tried to win the fight. I think Fortuna can at times do that where he'll kind of half-ass it, but I feel like he could have got up. I feel like it was in what was the fight where he ended up becoming a no contest.
When he fought
he fought in Dallas. I worked the fight
since then. He's actually his only loss is to Joe.
But I'm saying Fortuna makes your life a little bit difficult. Like he'll make your life a little bit difficult, but I don't think he's of that level either. I mean, his best weight is 130 pounds. He's a solid opponent that brings something on the table paper wise, like on paper. But a guy like Garcia is supposed to beat him. You know, if you're gonna fight once a year. Or then these are the kind of guys you're only going to be able to fight. So, hopefully he stays busy. He fought Tago, now he's going to fight Fortuna. After this, we're going to need, a bigger name. They've been talking about Tank and Ryan Garcia, but I highly, highly doubt we're going to see that fight. I just cannot. I can't get myself to believe that. If I'm Oscar, I'm starting to wonder if this guy really wants to fight. So you may as well take a chance on him now, because if he was a regular prospect who was a high level and he was selling a lot, maybe you take your time going to the Tank fight because he's a sure thing and you're going to kind of use him. But because you don't know where he's going to go next, you know what I'm saying? Like if he's going to box, if he's going to do a commercial, if he's going to be an astronaut, if he's going to become a model, if he's going to become an actor, if he's going to become, if he's going to, you don't know what he's going to do next. You may be inclined, if you have him under contract, to push him a little faster and get something out of him before the time just runs out, or you just lose him to another avenue of success that he might have, and then he might just kind of abandon boxing. So I think if I'm Oscar, I kind of do push the big money, the big fight, the big risk fight now. I mean, Ryan has the ability to fight it. Now he's busy 2 fights in a row. I kind of do push it. I'll be honest, man. If this fight doesn't get made, I mean, I still can't say it's one guy's fault or the other guy's fault, because honestly, who is Tank Davis' fault as well? You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, the only difference with Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia is that Tank Davis fights a little bit more often, but ultimately, we don't know who the guys he's fighting either. We don't know who they are either.
Do the rankings actually matter? Because Ryan's 2 in WBC, and I don't even think he's ranked in the WBA.
Yeah, can you explain that, Paulie?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to us as from an outside point of view.
Like why is he ranked?
Listen, the rankings inside the organizations, they come down to how popular you are. The sanctioning body will start ranking you higher just on how popular you are. Because if you're popular enough, they're gonna move you, and you keep winning, no matter who you're fighting, they'll move you up the ranks fast because you bring money to the table, and if you bring money, you bring money for them too. Again, I don't know why, I don't see it. I think there's just a lot of hoops to jump through to see Davis and Garcia. And why does, and the media has always gotten on my nerves. They're the biggest pussies that in the whole business. They never ask the tough questions. Like, why not ask these questions? Why not ask, like, bro, when are you gonna fight somebody, or do you really want to be a boxer, or even Tank Davis? Like, when are you gonna fight somebody that we've actually heard of, and when you're headlining these pay-per-views? Why do we have to learn about who your opponents are when you fight them? Why can't we already go into a pay-per-view like the way it used to be, where a super fighter fought another super fighter, everybody knew who both guys were, and the reason it was a pay-per-view is because both guys were so known and they were head-to-head that you knew it was time to make a pay-per-view. Now, like, you just got you got guys making pay-per-views and fighting random opponents. You know what I mean? Like, but nobody asked that question. Nobody's gonna ask that question because nobody wants to get their credential pulled. So it's all about getting the credential. So you kiss ass. So you're just a professional ass kisser. You're not actually a media guy. You're just a professional ass kisser. You know what I mean? Like, same thing with McGregor. Like, when are you gonna ask this guy, bro? You get your ass kicked every single fight. How do you keep making pay-per-views, bro? How do you do that? You know what I mean? Like, the only thing we see is you getting your ass kicked every time you fight. Why are you still on pay-per-view? And let him answer. Listen, he can say, I sell. He can answer the question, no problem. But end of the day, it's still your job as a media guy to ask those questions. And nobody wants to ask those kind of questions anymore to any of these people.
You versus Ryan at 140. I want to see how you would approach that fight. How would you approach Ryan, basically?
I don't know. I mean, I'd approach him the way I approach every fight. coming out boxing jab first, being busy. I probably wouldn't take a lot of chances against Ryan. I'd force him to, see if he can open me up a little bit. Which is kind of what I did with everybody. If I could beat you with the jab and beat you with a different rhythm of jabs, then I would just stick with that and keep it simple. If he would be able to force me to have to bring other things out of my arsenal, and make me uncomfortable, then yeah, it could be difficult. But right now, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen enough of Ryan besides some power. We haven't seen enough of Ryan to have the different levels, the different dimensions, the different adjustments that he'd be able to make. So that would be my approach to him. I don't think he's got the fastest feet. So just a little bit of range change. He's probably taller than me, so a little bit of range changing and mixing speed on the jabs and off the feints and whatnot. That's what I would have fought him in. And then see if he can make that adjustment. Honestly, in comparison to the opposition he's fought, me at 140 pounds would probably be the best opponent he's faced so far. If that would be the case, he hasn't faced a very high level of opposition. Yeah. Luke Campbell was a very good fighter, though. I'd say that's a solid win.
So, how do you think Ryan plays this fight?
I think it's going to be a little bit of an awkward fight. I don't think Fortuna gives you a lot, and then all of a sudden he just kind of throw some awkward shots. I don't think it's not a great fight in terms of looking good. I feel like he may stop Fortuna, but he also may get criticized for the performance. Fortuna's not an easy guy to look good against. But I also think Ryan isn't the guy to get beat by Fortuna either. Fortuna will randomly upset you and beat you and then give you a lot of trouble because of his awkwardness. But I do think that ultimately this is a win Ryan probably gets. I just don't know that he looks good doing it, and he's going to get kind of criticized for it, but I don't think Fortuna's an easy guy to look good against for anybody.
Hey, piggybacking off that, Paulie, I don't know if you know this, but the odds right now for Ryan are minus 650 with Fortuna at plus 480. Now, minus 650, that's a lot.
I was just saying for Tago.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, because boxing odds also take into account the fact that one guy will never get a decision anyway, even if it goes a distance.
Yeah.
So you're taking those odds.
Do you think minus 650 is fair?
It's fair because Fortuna, even if he wins the fight on points, will get robbed. Okay. So he'll never get the decision. So you take that into account. So you're looking at it now. Fortuna has to win by knockout in order to win the fight. I can remember me versus Broner, for example. Broner was 11-1 favorite, and I was like, how is this normal? Like I was betting myself in all kinds of ways, So, but ultimately, when the decision came, I realized I learned why he was 11-1 because he was never going to lose that decision. The WBA actually sent the world title, his copy of the belt already there. Well, usually. Yeah, so I learned something that night too, and also about the odds. So whenever you're looking at a boxing odds and a boxing betting a boxing odds, you also have to keep into consideration not just the two styles of the fighters and how live one guy is against the other because of the styles, but also at the fact that where do the boxing politics lie here? Can one guy get a decision against the other? And sometimes it actually plays out. I remember I picked Bebo to get robbed against Canelo. I thought Bebo would beat Canelo and not get a decision, just like a couple of other guys I thought Canelo had gotten. But on that night, Bebo did get a decision. So sometimes the politics do steer the other way, but and they'll be fair to a degree. But for the most part, those odds are there because one guy usually can't get a decision against the other guy, no matter what.
What do you think of Joe Goosen?
I think he was a good trainer. I think he's very, very intelligent. I can remember him even in the corner. I always liked to watch him because he was very calm. He made his direct points, and they were direct and they weren't confusing. And he always knew, when you came back to the corner, I always noticed he was the guy who knew what he was going to tell you, and he understood what was happening very, very well and understood how to give you those instructions in a simplified yet very clear manner. And I always liked that. And sometimes, like it was when Corrales kept losing his mouthpiece, and then right before he knocked out Castillo, when they took him back to the corner and he's washing Corrales' mouthpiece, sometimes Goosen was just as simple as, you better fucking get him now. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy, because Goosen was very astute and very smart in a lot of the ways he delivered his information, but sometimes he also knew when he had to keep it simple and even more direct and just throw out all that extra mumbo jumbo, So I like Joe Goosen a lot, and I think he's a smart guy. Plus, he always had a unique fashion style in the corner. He was always with the hair combed very nicely, and always wearing the Hawaiian button-down shirts.
He's Mexican-American, and do you see that style? Does he still have the Mexican style to you?
He doesn't come off to me like a Mexican, but he comes off to me as a guy who knows how to fight. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. I feel like style-wise, listen, boxing style wise, there's a little bit of Oscar type of body physique in him. But I think Oscar was better. But he's got a speed base, which was Oscar's speed power base, I don't know. I felt like when you heard Oscar speak, you could hear the East LA in him, even if he's talked proper. Ryan doesn't sound to me like a Mexican American. You know what I'm saying? Like his accent does not sound to me like he's Mexican American. If I wouldn't see him and I would just hear him on audio, the way he speaks English doesn't come off to me in that like. Granted, I guess he's not from East LA, so it didn't sound.
He's from Victorville.
Yeah, not even machismo, bro. There's a certain accent they spoke with, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I have a Bensonhurst accent. There was an LA Mexican, LA Chicano accent, bro. Ryan doesn't speak that way. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, the Italian New Yorkers of this generation don't really speak like me either. So the accents are disappearing. But so for me, I don't know how much relation you give him to the whole Mexican thing. I feel like he's just a social media guy who can fight, and if he wants to fight and chooses to fight, he probably has a possibility of having a lot of success.
We'll see what happens with Ryan. Your prediction now.
Yep.
Come on.
My prediction now. Well, now I'm kind of stuck on the 7.5. So I'm gonna say Ryan 6-round stoppage.
Ryan 6-round stoppage. Pasa. What do you think?
I got Ryan. I got Ryan in the decision.
Ryan in the decision. Clint?
I got Ryan in decision as well, honestly.
Ryan 2nd round KO.
No way.